Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Talk Morning Show with me, John, and Dennis. And this is the weekly show where we talk mostly wrestling on this show. So, we kind of gear it towards that because that's our forte. But we'll always answer everybody in the chat, talk some movies as well because Dennis likes movies, especially horror movies. Am I
Yes,
right,
sir.
Dennis?
Yes, sir. Sure do. Grew up loving them. Although, ironically, I'm always very afraid of them. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I love horror movies because like I can watch every single one of them. When I first like Sinister, first time I ever saw it was the only time because I literally had to sleep with the lights on for like 4 weeks, and I was like 20 at the time that it came out.
But you had nothing to worry about. The whole thing was as long as you don't move.
Well, yeah, but I don't trust that guy.
I mean, yeah, he's not trustworthy. Morning, Kevin. Kevin said, "Congrats to your Knicks, hell of a series." Yeah, Kevin's a Detroit Pistons fan. The Pistons were tough, man. They kept coming back. I actually had to turn the game off at one point when we blew a 16-point lead.
That sounds like a New York sports team.
Yeah. This is a funny question from Johnny Balls. Who's your favorite wrestler who smokes cigarettes? Do you know any wrestler who smokes cigarettes?
Um, Weirdly, I don't, but I feel like I could see like John Moxley smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know if he does, and I don't mean that as like a mean judgment thing, but he seems like the kind of guy who would smoke cigarettes.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm just trying to think if any wrestler back in the day came to the ring smoking a cigarette. I don't think any of them did. Like I could see like Paul Heyman if he as a manager in like the 90s or 80s.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Rob Van Dam smoked a special type of cigarette.
Yes, he did. Still does.
It sure does.
What's up, Mr. Smelly Potato? Glad to see that you're here. Are we doing a live on Saturday? No. The next live will actually be on Tuesday, right, Dennis?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
follow the schedule. I think you said we're going to try to be doing Tuesdays.
Yep.
We just had to move this one because you had a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, which funny story. On my way to the doctor on Tuesday, and I'm about halfway there, and I get a call from my doctor's office, and they're like, "Oh, your doctor called in sick today. We're gonna have to reschedule." I'm
Oh,
like,
perfect.
a little bit more notice would have been nice.
Yeah, a little bit more notice that I'm halfway to the office.
Yep. So, probably could have done it just a little bit later, but you would have to get off anyway. So it worked out. So yeah,
Oh,
this will be on every Tuesday at this time. And then the Q&A show will be whenever I got to get my regular work schedule, and I'll schedule it from there, and I'll let you guys know from then. But let's get into some wrestling talk. What do you say?
yeah, let's do it, man. Take it, lead the way. I follow the captain.
Yeah, well, what did you think of Raw this week? We got some more follow up on the storyline. Obviously, the big storyline coming out of last week being Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Paul Heyman.
I like it. I think it's funny how I feel like for a really long time of us being fans, there just like was no such thing as stables. For some reason, I think that he who shall not be named just hates tag teams. He hated stables. Like Evolution was probably one of the last big ones until like the Wyatt family and the Shield were probably those were the exceptions. But aside from that, I realized that my screensaver is changing. Um, Aside from that, we don't really get a lot of stables, but now all of a sudden it's like Bloodline 2.0. And now you could argue that this is kind of just the Bloodline again without anybody from like if you think Seth is really just Roman and Braun is in like the solo Sokoa Jacob Fatu role, he's the muscle. So it's kind of recycled, but I'm excited about it because I think it's going to be something that pushes younger people. I think they should add maybe a couple young people, maybe like a Roxanne Perez or someone like that who's kind of called up from NXT and floating about. But then I wanted to throw this at you. I don't know if it's too soon or not, but I was thinking what would be crazy is if they build this up, Seth goes on this run with Braun, they add a Roxanne Perez, whatever they do. And few months down the road, however long down the road, maybe SummerSlam or, maybe Survivor Series, something like that, they start talking about, almost like NWO did. There's another guy, there's another guy, there's another guy. It's a mystery, mystery, mystery. And then they do like, a tag team match where it's like Braun and Seth versus, and it's got to be uber good guys. It's got to be like versus Sami Zayn and Randy Orton or something like that. And, they do the schmaz finish. The ref's back is turned. Some guy from the crowd comes out, black hoodie, chair shot, 1, 2, 3, Seth wins. And who's under the hood but a black haired Cody Rhodes?
That would be sick because honestly, I think he's probably on a break right now. I think it's too soon, but didn't they hint like didn't The Rock say something about eventually they're going to turn Cody heel anyway? So it's got to be a black-haired Cody Rhodes though when they do it, right?
Yeah, because I feel like that's how he's known on the independent scene. Like when he went to New Japan and he was doing the Bullet Club stuff and all, he was black-haired Cody Rhodes with the leather jacket and stuff. And he did have he had a great run as a face. You could argue he's still the biggest face the company has. And you're right. I think he needs to take time off because he's hit it hard since he's been back. And that's why I said maybe not SummerSlam, maybe the end of the year, Survivor Series, maybe not till the Rumble of next year, however long you can drag this out. But I think it would be really cool to have him come back. And his motivation could be just simply like, I did the good guy thing and I let you like look at what happened. John Cena came and beat me and took that belt and, like took everything away from me. And, Seth in the meantime has been dominating and he's taken everything. And, so the motivation is quite simple. And I think it would just be a nice change to his kind of like vanilla meat and potatoes Hulk Hogan character, which not knocking. He's one of the only true baby faces on the roster. Everyone else is kind of like in that tweener spot. But I just think, has it been 2 years, 2 straight years of babyface Cody Rhodes? So now give him 6 months, 7 months off and let him come back. And it doesn't even have to be a heel. He just joined Seth. Because, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but do you think that Seth Rollins is even really a heel at this point?
Well, from the crowd reaction, I don't know. I think they want to cheer him. It's really hard, especially like he's got the theme song, which by the way, just a little small tangent. When I was watching Raw, so many of their theme songs sound so similar to each other. And I don't get it. The whoa
Yeah.
in most of them is like, is that like where they just the template they start with like half their theme songs? But I guess the crowd loves it. But if the crowd likes your theme song, they're gonna play along with that too. And you're wearing the same clothes, you got the same energy. I don't know. You got to change something to let people know that you're a bad guy. I get that you're attacking the right people, but people also like Braun Breaker too.
Yeah, I think this will be really good for Braun because I feel like he's been one of those guys like lost in the shuffle. It's weird. I think that like the roster is almost so stacked right now that there's a lot of people who are getting lost in the shuffle. And it's not knocking the writing team or creative or anything. It's just like you can't really have, how many storylines can you have for one belt, And like if you break down the belts, like the four-way match at Mania for the Intercontinental title, all super awesome guys. You can't, I don't know how many more you could have added to that feud. When you look at Cody Rhodes, it had to be Cena, and he's faced Roman and Punk, Seth. Like every section of the card is pretty stacked. And Braun Breaker kind of like got lost in that. He won the IC belt and then like lost it really randomly to Jay, but then won it back and then had a very underwhelming reign with it. So I'm hoping this will really turn things around for him where he can actually focus, even if it's not winning a belt, he can just get back to being like just a badass, doing all the crazy athletic stuff he does in matches and just win a ton and push him. Because I don't think he's a mid card guy. I think he's 100% a main event guy. And I think that maybe we talked about it last week. Maybe he's even the guy who dethrones Jay for the heavyweight title. Seth maybe pushes him to that point. But I think that this will be good for him. And that's why I said, too, like a group like this could be huge for someone like a Roxanne Perez who has all the potential in the world, but is kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit. She's mildly in a feud with Rhea and all this stuff, but it's very like, I don't know. It's very, doesn't seem to have a set course. And she almost just feels like, a B character in the whole thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I noticed with the women's division, there's certain characters that just overwhelm the entire division. Like Rhea Ripley, like people just love her so much. It's like kind of like back when Stone Cold was around. Unfortunately, people would just get fed to her because she's so over with the crowd. And there's just characters like that throughout the entire women's division that people just absolutely love, like Becky Lynch. But I like that Becky Lynch, what she's doing, going down a little bit and trying to elevate the with supposedly the B females title. That's the only way you can elevate it. It can't just be a random title that somebody has. it has to have a big feud. That's the only way to make it feel special.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. And I'm not knocking the people who are up there. I mean, the only person I guess I would knock would be like, but I can't even because Charlotte did do the job for Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah. Although it
But
sounds like she did it kind of not willingly.
yeah, so like we talked about it last time too. Like I feel like she's John Cena 2.0. Charlotte wins LOL. She always beats everyone. She ruined Asuka, beat her undefeated streak, took the belt. Like she's beaten everyone. I was stunned that she let Tiffy Time win, which is awesome. But like it's weird because I feel like I have no problem with her being in all these main event slots and everything because it never feels like she's just chasing the title. Like she's a big star, like you said with Stone Cold, where anything Rhea's involved in, I feel like is a big deal. So like she could have a feud, like even the Roxanne Perez thing, she could have a feud with her, and it's a big deal because Rhea's in it. I just feel like because Rhea is so big, we're not no one's really paying attention to Roxanne. So maybe move her off this into a group. And it's like she's such a big star, she overshadows a lot of people in it, and you have to find someone who can, like Stone Cold was able to face The Rock because he didn't overshadow The Rock. Stone Cold was able to face Triple H because he didn't overshadow Triple H. But Stone Cold probably had feuds with like Billy Gunn, and who the hell remembers that?
No, Billy Gunn's face run was terrible. Like the most underwhelming King of the Ring winner ever. I mean, this is badass Billy Gunn is awesome, but that was the one Billy Gunn.
Yeah, yeah, which was not as awesome as I'm an ass man.
No.
That's
But
legendary.
Billy and Chuck came back around.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing with the women's division is I'm a little upset about the like you talk about, copy and pasting music. Can we acknowledge the fact that the night of WrestleMania is the payoff for the feud where Naomi jumped Jade to take the tag team titles with Bianca. And then that night, Bailey gets jumped and Becky wins the titles, only for the next night to turn out, oh, well, Becky jumped Bailey to take like it's the same exact storyline. The only difference is Becky came out and said, "It was me, don't worry about looking into it."
I know, which they had to do it because they knew that people would say exactly what you're saying. Like, but now they can argue, oh no, it's different. Like, look at how she came out, and that was a very fiery promo that she cut. I thought it was a little over the top, but I still think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna knock the work. Like the promo was good. I'm looking forward to the feud. I think the feud will be really good. I just think that it was a very lazy way of getting there. They basically just were like, well, we need to shoehorn Becky into this, and we want to get right to this feud. So what we just did over on SmackDown? Let's just boom, let's just run that back. No one's gonna pay attention, and we're all paying attention. You're just carbon copy. Like you literally went copy paste. Okay, Becky, now you're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a short run up to Backlash. I didn't really realize that, but Backlash is coming up not this weekend, but next weekend. So it's a pretty fast turnaround. So you had to end the storyline to WrestleMania and then try and jump into feud. So I guess they had to try and elevate some stuff pretty quick. But I mean, like Gunther versus Pat McAfee, I didn't have that on my bingo card.
No, I mean, listen, it was a good. I think it's neat. And here's the thing. We just talked about the women's division having copy and pasted stories. This is totally different. Not that attacking a commentator is brand new, but when was the last time that a storyline happened where a wrestler came out and was angry at a commentator for what he said about him that now leads to a match? Like, I don't remember the last time that happened.
No, me neither. I mean, guys used to get like I can recall like Stone Cold studying JR for like saying something about him. Like Stone Cold would do things like that, but that's the last time I'm sure CM Punk had to have. He seems like the kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm hopeful. Again, this is one of those lost in the shuffle things, and I don't know how it happened. Gunther's IC run was amazing. That's what like made me fall in love with that guy. He was my favorite wrestler when he was IC champion because that every match he had was incredible. When he had those runs against Drew and Sheamus and those brutally physical matches, and he was just like, I'm making this matter and I respect the industry and everything. Unbelievable. Then he wins the heavyweight title, and I feel like they just like forgot what made Gunther awesome.
I knew that was going to happen when he got the world title. I felt like that was going to be he feels like a placeholder title holder and he shouldn't because like you said that intercontinental title reign was incredible. But I don't know. I mean the crowd loves him too, but do they love him as much as like people like Jay? Like the crowd loves Jey Uso, and I think Triple H was the one who said like he might not be the greatest wrestler ever, but he's over with the crowd, and is that just overshadowing a guy like Gunther, like who people like me and you notice is like going to put on an incredible match every single time he goes out there. It's like the Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels kind of thing. Bret Hart's amazing, but I mean, he never really was like 100% over with everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's what's weird is like they knew how to get Gunther, but I think the problem is again, it's like we are living in a time where there's no just like black and white good guy, bad guy. Because how many feuds did he have when he was world heavyweight champion where Gunther was like the good guy because the guy he was facing was the bad guy, but then he would just turn around and like I don't know, like a good guy would be in the ring with him and he'd low blow him, and all of a sudden he's a bad guy. And then he'd win that match, and then the following week he'd come out and like stick up for someone and be a good guy all of a sudden. He was so all over the map. He didn't have just a straight path of like, I am a bad guy. I only do this for me and whatever. And he didn't have, or I'm a good guy. I do this for the fans. He was all over the place, which I think kind of ruined it. It helped. Like, if you look at the Jey Uso feud, that's Gunther choking out his brother and holding him in front of him, making him bleed. And like, that's Gunther. Gunther should be doing that stuff in every single feud. But some of them, they were like, well, he's over with the crowd, so now we have to make him a good guy. Let him come out here and be like, la, 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 we're all best friends. And it just like, I don't know, it ruined it. So I'm hoping, I love Pat. I'm hoping Gunther just absolutely ruins him just to get his heat back and, make him the superstar that he should be.
Well, I actually thought that when he attacked him and he was doing the whole throwing up thing going out, that was actually going to be him getting written off for a little while because he does a bunch of other stuff like obviously football, morning
Yeah.
shows, and everything like that. And I figured that was them writing him off for a while, at least through SummerSlam. But I think this might be it. I think he might absolutely like murder him at freaking Backlash, which makes sense. Pat McAfee's not a wrestler. I mean, he's had wrestling matches. Like he's I think he's got the last match against Vince McMahon. So
That is true. He does. He's the one who retired him.
yeah, that's the one who put him down. So he can hold that, but I mean, come on, it's got to be like a literal, like maybe he gets a few hits in, but Gunther's got to kill
Yeah, and I think that'll build Gunther back up. And,
him.
I think they just need to reorganize a bit. And I just read an article this morning actually about Monday Night Raw. And it was the biggest complaint that people had was the question was, are you ready for another underwhelming Logan Paul title match? Because it looks like that's what we're getting. And it's another one that feels shoehorned in because, like you said, Backlash is 2 weeks away. So Logan Paul just comes out and is like, well, I want your title match. Boom, done. And it's like, it doesn't, there's no story to it.
No, there's no build up to it. It does just, and it's making Backlash feel like a one match show kind of thing, Like it's really just Cena and Orton, which, they're killing it every time they're out there. We haven't talked since the last SmackDown, but that opening promo was incredible between them, in my opinion. Just love seeing the roles reversed.
That's all I could think about. And my notes on it were literally just irony, irony, irony that we're here where Orton is the one saying, these fans are everything and these fans do everything for us and you need to be better, and Cena's the one who's like, nope, screw you, everybody. We're talking about Randy Orton who like poops in people's gym bags and like gets
Yeah.
in trouble constantly and bully, remember stupid to Kofi Kingston, like hot-headed young Randy Orton. And then there's young business company man John Cena, and here we are 20 years later, 25 years later, and the roles have reversed. Orton's talking about being a father and taking care of the kids, and Cena's the one who's like, no, these kids are brats and screw that.
I love it. I mean, and it feels genuine. Like I'm sure that like, they talk about this stuff before they go out there, but it just feels like the most like genuine kind of thing. And because they're taking the stuff that people have always knocked them, like John Cena not wanting kids, like it's been a huge knock against him. Like this guy who grants these most make a wishes ever of all time, but doesn't want a family of his own. And like I remember people talking about how he was on the show with the Bellas, and he's just like an anal kind of guy. But like it goes against his character, and it's just awesome to see him now being the bad guy. And like you said, like Orton used to have this like terrible backstage. I guess it's just like the people hated him, and now it's like people love him. It's like he came around. I guess like certain people just change when they have kids, and I guess he was just one of those guys.
Yeah, and it seems like, you know, that it's almost like they matured into each other. Like Orton was the bratty kind of jerk, mean to all the fans, mean to everyone, younger. And he grew up and now he's in the phase of his career where he's like, I've done it all and I'm just having fun. And we talked about that, like how he did the Joe Hendry pose as a joke and all that. Like that, Randy Orton is one of the all-time best. I know people will say he was boring and blah blah blah, but to me, he's one of the greatest wrestlers ever. He's a company guy through and through. Absolutely love him. And I love to see him having fun now with this, where he doesn't have to worry about being a good guy or bad guy. He's just out there enjoying himself, which is, in theory, what Cena should be doing since he said this is his final run. But instead, he went from the guy who was out there having a good time, enjoying himself when he was younger. Now he's the old, disgruntled guy who's like, no, 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 I sacrificed everything. Now this is about me. This is my time. So it's an interesting 180 for sure.
It is. I love honestly the angle of him saying that what you don't get it when I leave, I'm taking this title with me. And I love that honestly that theory of like he's gonna retire the title like that's it because none of you are as good as me. I'm like that's a great way to go for this. Like you only guys have only as many shots at it before I'm gone, and if you better take it or it's not gonna happen. And I love that. I mean, it kind of I feel like gives away how Backlash is gonna go, but it also is like how is he gonna win this one?
Yeah, what I'm curious about too is do they take a chance and let Cena actually walk away with the belt? And
Right?
I mean, maybe it just is like a business stunt and they design a new belt, because people want the Winged Eagle back and maybe they have someone come back and be like, now this is the actual title. What he took was whatever. Maybe it's just a marketing stunt, but like, do you take that? Because to me, whatever the last eight, there is, and I know there's no closure in it, but how unbelievable. We kind of talked about it. His final match, I don't know what his final date is, but his final date, it's him versus Punk, and Cena does win. Punk is the last hope to keep the belt in the business. Cena wins, blows a kiss to Punk, and leaves with the belt, but actually is gone.
That would be insane. And then like the company has to do what you just said and like introduce a new title. Like this is the new WWE. It's going to be on the line at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. And then like, okay, now we start building up to WrestleMania, what we believe to be the championship match. And then like right before it, like that you hear John Cena's music come out and say, I'm the real champ. And then like you can have a title versus title match and then Cena's true ending happens.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost too obvious for you to be like, oh well, I'm leaving with the belt, and Cena had, like people everywhere are gonna think. I even think it. Of course, he's gonna lose. Like
He's
you
got
can't
to
let this guy
yeah, the
leave.
most that's the logical direction.
Yeah, but how crazy? I mean, even even if you don't ever have him come back, like imagine he just straight up left with the belt. Like he wins his last match, walks out with the belt, and just never returns. Just doesn't come back for title, nothing. He just leaves and says, "I'm the last real champion. Goodbye." Like how crazy. And you could have him wait like 5 years before he comes back. I don't know. I just think they got to do something crazy like that because otherwise it's very, very obvious that he's going to lose the title.
Oh yeah, 100%. To me, it's the exact same thing. But I mean, I don't know what their plans are. I think they keep things closer to the cuff now than they used to like kind of throw fans. I think that's one thing. Like, yeah, we know that kayfable's dead, but it's like they kind of play with us knowing that now, and then like kind of mislead us by doing that. And I'm hoping that's kind of the plan here by laying out all the dates because like we have to know. Then people just believe that last date is when he'll lose the title, and whoever he's versing that date. And you're right, it'd just be too obvious.
Yeah. And I mean, you run the risk of if you have him actually come back and do another Mania of everything he did this year being a lie, which I guess you could feed into his heel persona. But I feel like with like I'm just thinking in more specifically with bands, right? Like how many bands are there out there? I mean, Motley Crue's on what their 50th farewell tour.
Yeah, they'll never stop. I mean, Vince Neil looks ridiculous out there right now, but they'll never stop touring. but
Yeah, yeah, and
it's the
that
same thing.
yeah, that's the problem is people go and they're like, oh, this is their last tour, so I'm gonna spend the money to see them because they're never touring again. And then you find out next year they're touring again, and you're like, son of a bitch, I just spent like $1,000 on tickets for this, and now you're so that's the only
And wrestling is
danger.
the king of that, by the way.
Yeah, so that's the danger to me is Cena says, "I'm actually done. These are my last dates." So people are buying tickets. I'm sure everywhere is sold out that he's on the card because people are like, "This is his last time in my city." And then he comes back. I think people will be like, "What the hell, dude?" So
Yeah.
you have to toe that line a little bit.
You do have to. I mean, Mick Foley did that in 2000, I think it was, where he had his retirement match at No Way Out. He lost, and then he fought in the main event of WrestleMania the next month. So I
Yeah, I
hope they
mean,
don't
Mick.
do that.
Yeah, Mick Foley and the Undertaker were two guys who they retired 11 times, and Ric Flair too. Ric Flair had the perfect send off with that match with Shawn Michaels, and then decided he wanted to
Even,
be the oldest guy to ever wrestle.
I mean, you still have to worry about him getting back in the ring. It's scary. Uh,
Yeah, I think he'll get involved until he'll literally be coming out on a walker getting involved in matches.
yeah, he will. He'll die in the ring. I'm waiting for that. That it's the only way for him, and that's honestly probably how he wants it to happen. That's why he's planning it this way. But even
Yeah,
Shawn Michaels like kind of betrayed the ultimate retirement.
he was like the closest. I mean, well, no, because even Austin came back. So yeah, he was one of the closest to a genuine retirement where I really thought he was done. WrestleMania 26, out, gone for years. And then that Saudi money came in, and that was it.
And that match is horrible for all four of them.
Yeah, they probably should have. I mean, but listen, who am I to judge turning down whatever amount of money they
Oh
were
yeah,
given?
no, I mean I get it. I listen, we'd all do it in that position. It just
Yeah.
kind of sucks as the fan to be like, you guys, now one of our last memories is all four of you guys going out there like in your 50s, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why, like, even Stone Cold, like, coming out of retirement, and I guess technically he came out with the Kevin Owens match at Mania, right? That was his
hmm
first thing.
That's his first, and
Um,
that's the only thing he's done too. So it was like a comeback. I think he must have really trusted Kevin Owens to come back and only do that match.
Yeah, and he kinda but it was like a nonsense kinda brawl through the crowd, drink a couple beer I think that was smart 'cause it didn't hurt him in any way because he took, like, 2 suplexes and then really just beat up Kevin Owens, so it was safe. They went out there and tried to have a legitimate match, and Kane's mask falls off, and Hunter gets hurt, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, I know. I can't even imagine. I mean, Shawn was probably the best in the match, but I mean, he's literally dealing with an out of shape Undertaker. Kane's really out of shape at that point, and Triple H got hurt. So it's like, all right, I haven't wrestled since 2010.
Yeah, yeah, so that was a mess, but, I mean, we'll see. I am excited. I think it's a little bit telegraphed. Like obviously Orton's not going to beat him at Backlash, but you needed to have the feud, and I think it is going to be a greatest hits run where he faces Randy. He'll face probably Punk. He'll face all the people that he can from his history. I don't know that we'll get a lot of new matches, except maybe the person who beats him for the belt will be someone new, like Braun Breaker or like a Jacob Fatu or someone like that who could use the push. But I think until we get to the end of the year, it's just going to be like a John Cena greatest hits kind of run.
Yeah, that's my genuine feelings as well. But at least he's coming out with no music right now. Uh,
That's true.
I just want to say what's up to David. And how did Big Daddy do? I actually don't know who Big Daddy is. Do you mean Big Daddy Cool? Because Big Daddy Cool's awesome. Oh, I gotta get your quick thoughts on the new the new Hulk Hogan wrestling company. Him and Eric Bischoff are doing. What's it? All American Freestyle Wrestling.
You know what? I mean, I guess this will be the ultimate test of is it is it them because they've come into other already established businesses and absolutely ruined them. So we'll see if this one even gets off the ground with those two guys. Like it just listen, I know Hulk Hogan is one of probably the most divisive people, not even just people in the industry because of everything he's ever done. You can't take away what he's meant to wrestling, but he he just seems desperate, dude. Like even the have you seen the advertisements for his Real American Beer Company?
Oh my god, it's terrible. It's just pandering, and it reeks of desperation, and people know that. That's why he got booed in LA. I mean, you could argue the political reasons too, and everything with his past, but also just don't forget that wrestling fans know all the stories about him backstage and all the stuff he pulled with just guys that people love. Like, Undertaker, I feel like is one of the most fairest guys ever, and you can just clearly tell every time that he's in an interview he does not like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example, right? Because Undertaker is a guy who obviously falls on that side of the political spectrum, right? He's got his military, the company he works, Nine Line, I think it's called, that he makes his shirts with, and he's a very, he's very much on that side, but he's not in your like, he's not out there like broadcasting that with different companies to make money. Where like Hogan, I just can't get over the advertisements. Like, listen, I'm all about starting businesses, but it's like Mount Rushmore and Eagles and fireworks, and he's like, "Real America, brother," and it's like, dude, pump the brakes. Like Stone Cold has a beer company that I've had his beer before.
It's
You
pretty
don't see
good.
those commercials from him. Like,
No, and it's a good beer. I don't know how the All American beer is, but I know what's it called? Broken Skull. His beer
yeah,
is. I think it is. It's pretty good from what I remember. Had a couple ones. But yeah, no. And then the fact he always just leans right into like his past, and he's just capitalizing. Like even this whole thing, like who's the third man? I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah. It's one of those like it like step away, dude. It's just a like it just reeks of desperation to be in the limelight. And listen, if I could start a wrestling company, I would too. But it it's just like the guy, like, I need to be in the Hall of Fame. I need to be in this. I need to start a beer company. I need to start a t-shirt company. I need to start a rest. It just seems like he's always starting some sort of business to be back in the limelight. And then when it fails, he's just on to the next thing. He just can't ride off on his jet ski into the sunset.
He might get hit by it again. That's why.
Well, yeah, well, obviously his bones are made of steel since, a 700-pound jet ski smashed his face and all he did was get a black eye.
Oh my God! Did you finally watch the WrestleMania 9 doc?
I did, and I can't deal with it.
It just ties right back into him. It just shows you how only one guy backstage really liked him.
Dude, it's so funny. And you know what I was thinking the whole time is they talk about Brutus Beefcake's eye injury, right?
Hmm.
And that was from a woman's knee that literally shattered his face to the point he needed surgeries and massive reconstructive work. And then Hulk says, I got hit in the face by a freaking jet ski and I got a black eye.
Yeah.
Like,
One black eye, and they're like, "Oh, it looks bad." I'm like, "Yeah, it just looks bad." Like that's it.
yeah, like how a jet ski doesn't hit you perfectly in the eyeball and you walk away with a black eye. Like this guy, Brutus got kneed in the face and shattered every single bone in it. You're talking about a gigantic metal machine flying at you, and you get a little bit of a black eye.
Makes absolutely zero sense. But hey, they're defending it all these years later, but clearly nobody else believes it.
Yeah, well, they have to defend it. I mean, you saw Scott Steiner too comment. He was like, "Listen, I have friends with Macho. He told me what happened," and they showed Hulk watching Scott Steiner say that, and he was like, "Well, whatever he wants to believe." It's like, dude, like, how do you even keep up with the amount of lies you've told in your career?
He's got to have a PR person like on him on full time, and still drops the ball like half the time. Like, I can't give you everything, man. Like,
Yeah, just brutal. Like, I think one of the biggest things I've ever seen is when he talks about joining the NWO. It's a different thing. Just brief sidebar. And I've seen like four different interviews where he basically, in one of them, he says that he didn't want to turn heel and it was Eric Bischoff that talked him into it. I've seen another one where he says the NWO was actually my idea completely and I was always the third man. I don't know why they said Sting was. Another one where he says that he was the one who wanted to do it and he had to talk Eric Bischoff. He's got like four different versions of how the NWO started and who named it the NWO and all this stuff, and none of them line up.
no, it's never made any sense. He's always just kind of just rifting and what he believes like is going to help him in the end, and that just shows you always the selfishness of Hulk Hogan. Because one thing always people talked about WrestleMania 9 was that ending, and it just shows you how political and how Brett is still bitter about that one too.
Yeah, Bret Hart, man, he is a very bitter. He holds grudges for sure, which, I guess I get. Like his career went the way it went, and you could argue it was strictly political, the reason it went that way. And like I get it, but how many years has it been, dude? You're not still in it. You can exhale and just kind of move along, like it's
Let your
that's a
life go
hell of a
on.
long. Yeah, and he just holds on to this. It's just he's very angry.
He's he, he's definitely a very, very angry elf, unfortunately, at this point.
Yeah, which actually that I have a question for you. I was thinking about it, and you kind of mentioned it before about kayfabe being dead, right? Because you're watching this documentary behind the scenes of how they did everything for Mania, and all the wrestlers, at that point were like, um, hey, listen, what the hell are these cameras doing here? What, Undertaker was pissed. Like all these guys were like trying to protect the business still because it's internet wasn't really, it wasn't a thing. Social media wasn't a thing. Like they were still protecting it like it was real. So now living in the social media world where none of it's real. I mean, everyone who's fighting each other is best friends. I mean, John Cena goes out there, tells Randy Orton that he sucks, and then posts a picture having a beer with him with dinner that night. Like, none of it is real. It's totally dead. We have to make it up in our heads. Do you think if you were you right now, back in WrestleMania 9, would you believe it the way that the wrestlers were protecting it? Or do you think as you get older, you'd be like, you know what? Something's fishy here.
Well, I learned that it wasn't real by the time I was like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 anyway. And then it makes sense immediately. Like, yeah, like when to be a wrestling fan, you already have to defy some belief. And I feel like as you get older, like logic should kick in and be like, it's not like boxing where these guys are clearly like, in this greatest shape. Like this guy comes out dressed as a freaking vampire. This guy's dressed like a garbage man. They fight in the ring. They leave. Like you got to already like I get why they were doing it back in '93, but the questions were always there. You've heard the stories about that one guy attacking the reporter. Like it just never logically made sense to be real because of like the storyline aspects of it. Like it just made sense as a show. So eventually I think you do come around, but I also understand Undertaker's logic back in '93. Like even if it's just for a few people, like we protect the business and this is what we do. And this is a ultimate like betrayal.
Yeah, and I think that it's funny because I think if the wrestling industry today was around back then, I think it would be a lot easier to make it seem real because, like, the second that Giant Gonzalez walks out in that sprayed on suit, you're like, this guy's obviously not a werewolf. This is stupid. But, like, if social media and the internet and stuff weren't real today, and you had like Seth Rollins and CM Punk cutting the promos they had on each other, it's so much easier to believe that they hate each other and well because they actually do but like the storylines are a lot realer now where I think if kayfabe was still alive it'd be a lot easier to believe it was real but back then when ironically when they were trying to protect it so much it was the fakest it was ever.
I mean, Yokozuna was the biggest guy they're pushing that year, and like he's not even a Japanese wrestler. He's a Samoan wrestler from like the most famous Samoan family, no less. And he's not even pushed as a Samoan wrestler in his entire career. Now they acknowledge him as part of that family, but they literally pushed him as a Japanese wrestler, the big sumo wrestler turned pro wrestler. He's gonna kill you with that. Like, and we believe that. Randy Savage came out dressed like a cartoon character every week, just shaking his stuff. And my buddy Jim here said that Hulk Hogan definitely has CTE. Never thought about that, but that makes sense too.
Yeah, probably a lot of those old guys. I mean, unprotected chair shots, and they didn't believe in medicine back then. It was, if you got hurt, suck it up, buddy. I mean, Taker even talks about that. How he wrestled with his Phantom of the Opera mask because back then it was if you're not on TV, you lose your spot. So guys like Hogan, who ran for how many years in a row was he champion?
Years.
Like
I mean, he was throughout the entire '80s. Like did Roman really did Roman pass his title reign? Was that the one that his '80s title reign? He never will pass like the one from the '70s who was
Bruno.
Bruno. Like that's like a ridiculous like 10-year reign or something, right?
Yeah, well, Bruno was champion from like 1957 to 1978. So it's just
Yeah, like that's like the one that they like, like the modern title. When there's one that's like well, obviously nobody's gonna be the champion for this long, so we'll just say the modern title.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's a good point. A lot of those guys, definitely had dealt with a lot more injury problems and probably didn't get the treatment they should have been getting back then because of how the industry was. And in that way, I mean, we've come a long way. But I mean, it's incredible to see the groundwork. Like, I remember when you said, dude, you got to watch this WrestleMania 9 documentary. You mentioned how you didn't know they practiced everything, including pyro. And I was like, no way. I had no idea.
Me either. Like they literally do a full dress rehearsal. Like I always thought, like even when we did like with our wrestling and stuff, we always thought like they really riffed a lot, like when they went out there. But like even like recently, they're showing all the behind the scenes stuff for WrestleMania, like the one that just passed. And I thought Logan Paul came up like with his entrance. It just felt like a Logan Paul thing. But Triple H is walking him through all the motions of his entrance. I'm like, I just wouldn't think that. Like, I would think it's
Yeah.
all like on the fly kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see that. Like, I mean, the one of the cool parts was the Lex Luger one where they were like, "All right, hold the mirror," and they were experimenting because they were like, "Oh, well, the sparklers on the mirrors, the wind is blowing, and the girls holding it are getting burnt. We have to hold them high." Like they tried to figure out could they carry Yokozuna out on this thing? Up, we can't. He's too big. Like it was really Undertaker coming out with that bird. I mean, he was pissed.
Yeah, I love that. Like you wouldn't think that watching it, but yeah, I'd be like, yeah, he's a real human being. He's got this gigantic bird next to his head. I know I'd be scared.
Yeah, and the funny thing is he says in the documentary that he thought it was stupid. He was not happy. He's like, this is gonna look so dumb. But there's the one picture of him with the bird next to him that I think is the coolest Undertaker picture ever.
That's one of the best entrances he ever had. It would have been cooler at night, but when you think of out of everybody at WrestleMania 9, that's the one that stands out. I get everybody's there in the togas and everything, but when I think of WrestleMania 9 first, I always think of him with the bird. That's the first one of the most iconic images in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. So it's funny he thought it was gonna look stupid, and turns out it was actually one of the most badass entrances of the night. And it was
Mhm.
also interesting that that was the first Mania that really led them to like making it a theme, because now it's like, oh, it's pirates, it's roller coasters, it's all this crazy stuff. But that was the first one that they were like, this, we're gonna make this an attraction.
Well, that's one of the things I look forward to most every single year is the actual set design and like what's the theme of WrestleMania. Like 33 was the one with the roller coaster, and like you said, 37 was the pirate ship, and now this past one was the casino. I love that kind of thing. And then yeah, when it all started right here, and I mean that's the thing that stands out because it is widely considered the worst WrestleMania ever, but people still love the actual let's the Caesar's Palace type of theme that they went with.
Yeah, and it's funny, I didn't even know either because you look back at it and we weren't around for it, but you look back and you watch it and you just kind of like, yeah, that's WrestleMania, that's what they do. But in the documentary, they show you that they're sitting there and the venue was just a parking lot. It was ugly. It was bleachers and blacktop. Like that's all the venue was. So they really started it out of necessity. They were like, this is hideous. We need to make this more attractive for people to come. So let's make it look like a palace.
Yeah, and they nailed that. I like them also sitting around like having like a meeting like in the venue before like the show. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's always neat. It was really cool to see a lot of that stuff, especially like we see clips here and there of the wrestlers sitting in the crowd and talking to each other, and even modern day we see that. But it was cool to see like the production people like talking, all right, is that sign right? That should be more centered. This should be, because that's the stuff you don't think about, that whole entire production crew that has to put the sets together and has to figure out what's center, what's not. Should we move this here? Should this pillar be there? And so it was a really, really cool in-depth look, not just at like behind the scenes wrestlers talking matches, but really the whole process that it takes to get WrestleMania going.
Yeah, it really put it all in the full context. It also showed you how like even these guys are like the way they had their trailers, like they're really like full blown, essentially like actors at like with everything they have to go through. It's a full process to get them dressed up. I love the Shawn Michaels thing, like talking about the seamstress and everything like that, and how he got his thing. I always forget that there's like full time seamstress working backstage to get their costumes and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how can you forget when Shawn Michaels showed up to Survivor Series in those shit brown tights that because he lost his luggage? That's
That's the
thanks to a
worst, man.
seamstress.
Well, okay, they lost his tights, but nobody forced him to get that haircut.
That is true. That is true.
The whole
But
ensemble. His last world title run, man. His last one.
yeah, yeah, and he won it in the worst haircut and worst tights he's ever had.
Yeah. Still the best elimination chamber, though.
Dude, so good.
Love
That's
it.
just a great pay-per-view. But yeah, I think that Mania documentary, any wrestling fans out there who haven't seen it yet, it's on Peacock, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. That's like kind of leading up to the new one with the unscripted, where we actually see the full scripting process. That we're both really excited about that.
Yeah, I can't wait to start seeing that because it's so interesting, especially now. You hear horror stories from back when, the devil was in charge of the company and how shows were changed last minute. And, I mean, writers were quitting left and right. I mean, you hear so many people, famous people, like I've even heard comedians and actors and people like that who were like, I used to write for WWE. It was a dream of mine. As soon as I started it, I hated it and I had to leave. It was the worst experience ever. But now, I think it's kind of turned around where people want to work there again.
Yeah, it's a whole different environment. It's clearly a very professional environment now. Just look at all the sponsors on the ring. I see people complaining about that, and I understand. Like I would prefer like a clean ring too. But, you know, I also get, like, why that's there. That's how we get those big WrestleMania sets. That's how we were able to get them to, like, make everything look I feel like right now, the production design is incredible. I like the smaller look of the sets, but they still have the crazy lighting and everything. They just gotta improve those entrance themes, so those those sponsors pay for all that, so I get it. It's more professional, but it also makes it feel more like a sport now, which is good, and the long-term storytelling, which I really love, and callbacks. That stuff we just lost all those years.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're in a really, and I do, I'm definitely like an old school purist. Like even I'm a hockey fan and they started putting advertisements on like the helmets and stuff. And I hate it. I hate jersey advertisements. It really pisses me off.
Every sport now, man. I didn't even realize, like, half of them. Like, I was watching baseball, I'm like, "Oh, when did baseball start putting that on?" Like
Yeah, and I hate that stuff so much. I mean, in those kind of sports, I don't get it because baseball makes enough money to pay people ungodly amounts to play. But in wrestling, it's like you have a lot of at wrestlers that you have to pay. You have the set designs, you have the travels, you have all that extra stuff. So the extra money, like you said, it goes into making it a bigger production. But like, what do you need more money on the New York Yankees for?
I don't know. The brand sells itself. It doesn't matter what state, but yeah, that's just the way it goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I agree. I like that they changed the set design. Remember, there was a long period of time where the set design for Raw, SmackDown, and all the pay-per-views was the same exact thing. They just changed the color on the TV.
I hated that. That was the like that's really one thing that was a huge turn off for me for wrestling was when they did that for every single one, had the exact same design. I couldn't I was like, "Are you kidding? It's the laziest, cheapest thing you could ever do."
Yeah, now set design's a little unique. I like the littler set for SmackDown and Raw. I like that it's smaller. You get more seats. It feels a little bit more intimate for the smaller shows, and the set design for bigger shows isn't it's better, but I still don't think it's great. I mean, we were spoiled, dude. Remember, like the original Backlash set with those hooks swinging back and forth, and Judgment Day's set looked literally like an apocalyptic with the fire, like structures on fire and all that stuff. Like they had some really sick sets.
Yeah, honestly, that's one thing that when they went to the HD era, that's when it all changed over and they got rid of like theme sets. And I'm like, we kind of lost something there. They're kind of going back to it where it's like the smaller, and then they kind of have themes for certain things where they'll put certain pillars up and it makes it feel a little bit more unique. But yeah, they still even for like the big pay-per-views, they'll go to a stadium, which makes it feel big, but they'll put like just a small screen at the bottom by the entranceway. I'm like, you could have done a little bit more there.
Yeah, we definitely are not where we used to. The sets used to be so awesome, but they're way
Oh,
better
this is a
again.
great one. Armageddon set from '08. Yeah, the Armageddon sets were always awesome, actually. I remember the '02 set where they actually had the set on fire the whole show.
Yeah, dude, and that's a really, really good point out the Armageddon sets. They were always unbelievable. And that's something like I feel like that was also another thing. You didn't just look forward to the matches. You didn't just look forward to the entrances. You look forward to the set because you're like, "Oh my God." Like in this case, it's Armageddon. This set's gonna be incredible.
Yeah, I remember that, like, if I didn't get the show, you could watch Sunday Night Heat before the show, and they'd have, like, the matches on the actual sets, so you
Mm.
could see the set even if you weren't gonna be able to watch the show.
Yes, and that's stuff that we lost, which like listen, I think they're working their way towards it. Like I think we're kind of selfishly wanting them to improve every single thing that was ruined from like I don't even know 2015 until like 2021. Like there was so much damage done in that span that we want everything fixed, and we're getting a little greedy because they're fixing so much of it. But even like the music, I mean, people complain because it was that weird CFO's company they brought in to make all the music. And everyone, if you listen to Bailey's intro, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, they all have that like, oh, kind of thing in the beginning.
Yeah,
It's all just the same thing.
like I think somebody pointed out, I'm like, Jim Johnson did all the other ones. There's no like glass breaking, like there's no like when the guy's coming out. I think the closest we got is probably Roman Reigns. Like people kind of know that initial drum drop at the beginning, but
Yeah.
there's no more of that like, oh, he's coming out. It's like too much of a build up, and I'm like, none of these work for that power moment.
Yeah, and except for the guys, I would say Cody Rhodes. There's more than one royal family that people know what that is. Seth Rollins that screams "Burn it down," and Roman Reigns. The drum drop. I mean CM Punk too, but he uses a real song. But
Yeah, and his songs was iconic from the I love the song before he started using it. So
yeah, yeah, I agree. But what really showed me that was the Royal Rumble. When I was watching the Rumble, I remember sitting there with my wife and we're watching, and every time someone's music hit, she was like, "Who is this?" And I actually was like, "I don't know until they show the screen, like until it shows the names. I don't know who it is because there's not so many people's song is just the exact same generic. Like if you were playing 2K, it's like generic entrance music too, and that's it. That's what everybody has.
yeah, and it should never feel like that. You used to just know like you people would buy the albums because everyone had unique entrance songs. And now we're down to this where exactly it's generic music number three. It's terrible.
Yeah, and like you said, people used to have sick intros, like Chris Jericho's Countdown, Edge's "You Think You Know Me." The Hardy Boys theme song was sick. It didn't have anything in the beginning, but like everyone knew as soon as it hit, that was the Hardy Boys. Undertaker had the gong, and Kane had the organ start. Like you even hear people when they work with Jim Johnson. Big Show said he hated his song, but when he went, he was like, "Oh, there's this one song I really like, and I'd love you to do it." And Jim Johnson wrote it specifically for him. Same with Vader. I saw an interview with him. He's like, "Oh, well, we need like a heavy song, and the way he like trots to the ring." So he wrote like dun 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 kind of music for him that matched his. He wrote for each character. Where now I feel like they just have somebody in a studio write 20 different theme songs, and then they just go, "Oh, you're returning. You're gonna get number 7. Go out
Yeah,
there. Good luck."
it's terrible. Like we used to like actually like even the B guys, you like Steve Blackman, who cared? Ken Shamrock had an iconic theme song. Like everybody had a theme song. He might not have loved the wrestler, but you knew who it was coming to the ring. The B stables, you always knew like I don't remember what Nexus's theme song was at all.
Yeah, I don't either because it was probably just some random guitar riff that someone laid down one day, and they were like, "Perfect, just use that. That's fine."
Yeah, we're not gonna waste another track. Like it's digital. You could just delete it. We're not wasting it. All right.
Yeah, yeah, it's brutal, but I think we're mildly getting there. I mean, we do have, also what I find is really odd right now is, do you ever remember crowds singing people's theme songs when they walk to the ring?
No, I thought I feel like that is the American crowds trying to copy what the European crowds were doing. But yeah, I don't ever remember anyone ever singing anyone's theme songs to them. It's crazy. So, maybe we're the wrong ones. I don't know. People love Jay Uso's theme song so much.
Yeah, they sing that. I know that they sing Cody's, they sing the whole thing, not just the whoa. There's a couple others that they sing.
Seth Rollins, they love.
Yeah, Cult of Personality. People are literally singing it from start to finish when he's walking out.
I
It's
mean,
not
Randy Orton's
just one
had the
thing.
same one, and people just started singing it.
Yeah, like it's really, I think that should be a lesson to WWE. Like, let these guys have interesting theme songs. Like, listen, you're making so much money, even if they need to pay for licensing to do it, just do it. Like, it makes a huge difference.
I mean, you sold set. Like people were able to sit in the actual set for WrestleMania. You sold those seats. Take some of that money and yeah, license out some music. It's not that hard, and it would make your show so much better.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think it's something hopefully we get towards that and set design. Although set design is going to be tough, man, because how many PLEs do they have in stadiums? I mean, it's almost all of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think St. Louis is in an actual just like arena in St.
Yeah.
Louis, and I think same thing with Money in the Bank. But for the most part, now every big show's in a stadium. Like I can't believe that SummerSlam's a 2 night event at MetLife. Like that's crazy. I never could imagine that. That always just used to be just yeah, it was built up as big, but they would still just put it in like a 17,000 seat arena.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it last week too. It's I think inevitably it's going to be Mania 2 nights, SummerSlam 2 nights, and like you said, Royal Rumble 2 nights. I think those are three will be 2 night full weekend extravaganzas.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're going to be Royal Rumble's 100% and Survivor Series probably too. Here's one from Emmanuel. No more words. Jeff Hardy was awesome. It hit different when he celebrated on SmackDown after winning the WWE title. Yeah, we actually were out of SmackDown during his WWE title reign, me and you.
Yeah, and I know exactly the SmackDown celebration he's talking about, where they had so many fireworks going off, and he came out and did the whole like look at the belt thing that he did, and he was just unbelievable.
Yeah, he was. I loved freaking Jeff Hardy. I know you were the biggest Jeff Hardy fan, so that must have been really awesome when he finally won the title. He got so over, and then it's such. He could have won so many more titles. I don't think John Cena would be a 17-time champion if Jeff Hardy would have hung around longer.
Yeah, and no, I agree. He was 100% my favorite wrestler in that time period. Their original song was awesome. That No More Words song was awesome. When he used to come out glowing in the dark, I mean, that was like, peak drug use, Jeff Hardy. I know that, but like his glow in the dark entrances were unbelievable. He was just always so, and they call it, I don't want to say charismatic because that's like his gimmick, but like he really was so charismatic with everything he did, and the music just lined up perfectly too.
Yeah, he's another one. Perfect entrance all the time. I remember when they played with his pyro. He had such one of those cool pyros for his entrance too. Remember when Matt Hardy actually blew up the pyro? That was a big part of their storyline leading up to WrestleMania 25 was the pyro blowing him up and not killing him.
Dude, I remember watching that and actually believing it. Like thinking, not believing Matt Hardy did it, but believing like, oh my God, that I think they just had an accident.
Because
Like,
that's
cause it was,
happened.
yeah. And if you watch it in slow motion, like he gets hit by the sparks and like it looked legit. It was like, oh my God, I think I just watched like one of my idols almost die. It was really insane.
I think he's dead. Like, it did, like, especially after what happened with the Undertaker, where you're like, did he go on fire? And then you see him pouring the water on him in the chamber. Because I remember watching that live too and being like, I think he actually got burned.
Yeah, and they tried to sell it like, oh, he's so ready to go. He's storming to the chamber, but like, no, dude, he almost just died.
Yeah, imagine that they have to sell you almost dying. Like, no, it's okay. He's fine. It's crazy, but circle back a little bit on Raw. What did you think of how they ended it with Sami Zayn? Because I love Sami Zayn. I just don't want him to build up another feud and then like lose again. I feel like that happens to him too much.
I think they can go one of two ways with it. I think they just have him get buried, which I hate to because I love Sammy. I really, really do. I think he's, just he seems like such a great guy. He's a really good wrestler, a very sympathetic character. I think he could just, lose to Braun and then bounce back and do whatever. But maybe they have him join. Maybe they have him get destroyed by Braun and then realize, like, wow, I should have joined this. And he does join Seth. I don't know if that's too much bloodline callback. I hope he's not, like you said, I hope he's not against Braun, loses, and then on to the next losing feud.
Yeah, I just don't want. I feel like that happens all the time with him, AJ Styles, and Kevin Owens, and even to a point, Randy Orton, where I guess their characters are over enough where they're just like kind of settled in that upper mid card whenever we need a B title feud that we know we can get our champions over. We bring them in there because they're always built up, but we always just know the outcome of their feuds. Like I want to see Sami Zayn. He's never won a world championship. I would love to see him actually get the Jey Uso treatment where he gets that big crowning moment, like Daniel Bryan, where it's like all the hard work of all the years pays off finally.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I think he deserves it. He definitely has proven that he can get over as a good guy or a bad guy. He's done everything. I mean, he deserves that win. I think you're right though to name those guys too in particular. They are, and I hate to say it because they're so good and I love them all, but they kind of are just filler feuds. They're guys that the crowd likes, you're going to get a good match, and you know that their reputation is going to be damaged if they lose. So when we need someone else to win, we'll call AJ, we'll call Sammy, we'll call Karrion Cross is kind of in that same thing. I hope he gets a push too with his character, but
Love this
he's
hair
kind of
this
in that.
week.
Dude,
He-
I'm now after you said the one thing, I didn't even pay attention to it, but how you said that he mentioned going to the same seamstress as AJ Styles and getting the same tights. You realize that he wore his hair in the same style that Sami Zayn wears his.
That's what I mean about nice hair this week, right? He's literally just does whatever whoever he's feuding with. He always has to have like the same either like matching outfit or he does his hair like them. It's crazy. It's like his like way of getting in their head.
Yeah, now I'm starting to pick up on it ever since you said it. And I love it. I hope that he gets a push. I hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle. I think again the problem WWE has, which is a good problem, they are stacked right now. I mean, they just brought Rusev back. They just brought Aleister Black back. I mean, what do you even do? Like, how do you book this many all stars?
I don't even know how you do it. Like you can't. Like Rusev, unfortunately, I love Rusev, and they built up his character right with that big promo video this week, basically saying that he's only doing it for him and he just wants to destroy. That's great. I love that. But how high is his ceiling? Because their Triple H already loves having long title reigns, so that means that they're not going to get them. Do you keep them in? Like I feel like Rusev's only shot is to either always be in United States Championship feuds or Intercontinental Championship feuds, because I don't see anywhere else. He might be able to elevate to like a world title match. Him and Gunther will probably have a phenomenal match together, but I don't know. Like I still feel like he would end up becoming like one of those like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles where he could lose up to the top.
Yeah, yeah. And you see the comment down here too
Which one?
from Emmanuel.
Yeah, why I want Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano to win the title?
Yeah, yeah. Because I was gonna say I agree. I like those guys, and I think that they could get up there. And I think Kevin Owens agreed. Kevin Owens is my current favorite wrestler. I think one more title reign for him would be awesome. I think Sammy absolutely deserves it. Johnny Gargano is another like underrated performer, kind of always in the middle ground. I think what you need to do for him is same thing like you said. There just seems to be some guys who like as soon as they're here, they want to be in the world title picture, but sometimes you gotta like wait. Look at some of the best title reigns we've seen, like Kofi Mania, when Big E won, when Jey Uso won. Like those guys didn't come to WWE and win in 2 years. They had to sit there and they had to do mid card stuff for a long time. I think like Rusev's return. Let him just mid card it for a while and see if he gets over. If he gets over as big as Rusev Day was again, then you can start talking maybe getting into the world title picture. If he doesn't get that high, like so I think there's a lot of ego in wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of guys who think they should be world champions before they're even at that level. And I think that kind of prevents them from being able to get to that level. I think you need to just accept where you are, settle in, do the best you can to get over with the crowd. And if you do that, you will be now in current WWE, you will be rewarded. But you just have to be patient.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% because back in the day, like I think even it was Rusev who spoke about like the fact that like the Rusev Day thing got over and like they just saw it as an accident instead of leading into it. Like WWE used to like cut the legs out of something that got over because it wasn't their idea. And now it's like if you get over genuinely, they're gonna push you. And there's nothing wrong with being good in your spot. Like I think we talked about this on last week's show in the sense that you could have your spot in the mid card and like that's still important. Like when you watch a wrestling show, if every spot on the show is good, then that's perfect. Like you're supposed to be doing your job in that sense. Like not everybody, I get it. These guys, like you said, with ego, they pay the main event guys more. It's not like you're all being paid the same. So of course, just from a financial standpoint and a business standpoint, you want that main event spot. But sometimes you could just settle in and enjoy where you're at for a little while too.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with being, look at all the people historically who have started out, I mean, Stone Cold didn't come in, turn into Stone Cold and win the world title main event 11 WrestleManias. Like he feuded for the Intercontinental Championship. He had mid card, he had to win the King of the Ring. Like he did all this mid card stuff for a couple of years before making it to that level. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with being someone who fights for the Intercontinental Championship for 5, 6 years. Like that's a good belt, and you should just go out there and like wrestle. Like you should just, I don't. I know, like you said, financially you want to become a main eventer and everything, but I think you just need to accept where you are in the card. Be happy that you're not doing dumb storylines anymore, and organically you'll get there. Like that's what happened with Jay. He just
Hmm.
organically got his yeet thing over. He, started to get a little bit of a push. had a couple high level feuds, and before you knew it, he's at that level. He wins the IC title, then he goes on to the heavyweight title. Like that's what people need to be okay with. They need to be okay with taking your time, playing the mid card game for a little while, and then get bumped up.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, look at Penta. I mean, like he came in, he's been naturally over ever since he's gotten here. And they're not doing anything crazy special with him. It's just that people like his character. They like the way he is, how his charisma is. I love that the Lucha Libres in general are just getting a lot more shine now.
Yeah, and with the AAA acquisition, I hope we get a lot more of that too, which will be awesome. I'm also hoping that they're hinting and teasing, and they've started to make merchandise and stuff for the Lucha Brothers, Lucha Bros. So Ray Phoenix and Penta will tag team again. I'm hoping that that kind of like ignites the tag division a little bit because I mean I love tag team wrestling, and we were
Me
spoiled
too.
growing up with the TLC era and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian and the Hardys and all those guys. Like those tag teams were awesome, and it always, again, it's what we were just talking about, understanding your place in the card and making it matter. Like those in WrestleMania 17, I would argue that TLC match was the main event.
I go back and watch that TLC match from WrestleMania 17 all the time. Like I just go to Peacock and put a WrestleMania 17 on and watch that TLC match. I love WrestleMania 17. It's probably the best show ever overall from top to bottom as far as a card goes. But that WrestleMania 17 match, the TLC, that's the best match on that card by far. And it's one of my favorite matches ever.
Yeah, and it's a tag match because
Mhm.
those guys were tag teams and that's what they did. That's all they cared about. And they said, like I saw them, I think it was like Devon and Jeff Hardy, maybe two guys talking about it. And they said, like, we knew at the time that we were, a mid card act, but we wanted people to be wowed. We wanted to steal the show. And that's the attitude that you should just have. Like, yeah, I'm a mid card, but I'm going to show them that I should be main eventing because look at how awesome this was. And I think the tag title scene has kind of, I don't know, it's floundered for so long that it's so difficult. Like the Street Profits and Motor City Machine Guns are awesome. The Judgment Day, I think, are all right. I think they're kind of running out of steam. The War
Yeah,
Raiders and New Day, like they need more teams that take it seriously and make those belts mean something.
that's why I like that the belts are actually on New Day right now because the New Day will make them seem big just because of their legacy, and now they're kind of the New Day, like the heel version of it. I like the Viking Raiders, but again, it's like they even tried to reinvent them. They still don't feel special to me. I don't know what they have to do for them. It's a shame because they do move around so good for being big, but they just feel like they're in the wrong era of wrestling to me. And I think like if like Emmanuel here talking about Penta. Penta's been awesome. My favorite match have ever been against Pete Dunne, another underrated guy, by the way. And his
Yeah.
entrance at the Rumble and starting against Rey Mysterio. Yeah, it's a shame where Ray got hurt because this is like the perfect time for him to be around.
Yeah, and I think that start of the Rumble was awesome. That's a really good call out for Penta and him to, and I'm glad they didn't rush into that feud, because I feel like a lot of times people are like, Penta's here, Ray's here, what are we doing? Well, we could build up to it. We can take our, especially now with the AAA thing, like I said, if they're going to start dipping into that the way they've been dipping into TNA and that partnership, we're going to have a lot of really awesome matches for Penta and Rey Mysterio and Rey Phoenix and all those guys to have. And I'm looking forward to that. I do
That's
think Penta is one of those guys that just has outrageous matches every time.
He does, and that's why he's the perfect like for a Raw match where like you want to go out there and like a Raw SmackDown match and just put on a show for like 10 minutes. That's the perfect guy to bring out there. Like, and that used to be like the thing is like you'd always at least have one Lucha Libre match, one cruiserweight match on the show because they're always entertaining, and you need that between some of the like the feudy matches where it's really more about the storyline over the actual match. Like that stuff's gonna end in like a DQ and it's gonna disappoint the fans, but a nice, good, fast-paced wrestling match it really can't be beaten sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like the thing is that if you get more of that going, I mean, they have a lot of luchadors on the roster now that are just buried. I mean, they're buried in the stupid LWO that
Yeah.
I don't know
You
why
forget
they're
it's
still.
around.
Yeah, like just let it go. You tried, it didn't work. Like let those guys go because they can be so good. Like just let them go and let them do their thing. Like Rey Mysterio knows about that because he came up in the WCW time when Eric Bischoff literally just had the cruiserweight and luchadors come in and they were like, "Look, on Nitro every night, you guys are going to get 15 minutes. Go out there and just have an unbelievable match. Like just let the luchadors do that for a little bit and let's see who gets over with the crowd. Like, it won't hurt them to lose because the matches are so spectacular that it's like if you lose, no one's going to be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that Penta lost to Rey Mysterio." People will be like, "Okay, but did you see like how many Mexican destroyers he did and like all the crazy Hurricane Ranas and like it's so action packed. People aren't don't pay attention to the winning and the losing. They're just excited that the match happened."
Exactly. You're just there to be entertained, and it works good. Like, you can get these guys in some feuds, and it'll be great if they could get the tag. You got me excited for them to be a tag team. That because that's something I'd be really into. Them versus the New Day. That'd be a good match. I feel like.
Yeah, and I hate to say it because obviously he's having an unbelievable run, but I almost hope that when Jay finally does drop the belt, he does drop back into Uso tag team because FTR is another that's one of my favorite tag teams of all time, or the Revival when they were in WWE. I don't know if they'll ever come back. I wish they would. I don't know where they are now because I haven't followed them in a while, but when it was like the Usos and them and the New Day, and then you add in the Lucha Bros and you add in the Street Profits and the Motor City Machine Guns, like now all of a sudden that tag division is stacked and those matches are going to be unbelievable. So that's what I'm hoping happens for the tag division because they're very just like haphazardly thrown together. And I feel like you said about the War Raiders, seem like really nice guys. They're really, they're decent wrestlers and everything, but their gimmick is very WrestleMania 9, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. It just doesn't fit the time period that we're in right now. Like their whole entire match at WrestleMania is tied to a sponsorship. Like the match isn't bad, but that just sucks that overshadows the actual tag division feud, which the TLC match on SmackDown was originally supposed to be on WrestleMania's card, and it's like that gets bumped. The TLC match gets bumped. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and you have other teams too, like DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Could be a great tag team, hardly ever on TV. Same thing, Motor City Machine Guns, awesome tag team. But it's like basically they just keep tossing the belts back and forth between two teams. You need to introduce some new teams that and not just new teams like they used to do, where it's like, oh, well, now, the Miz is teaming with Gold Dust, or, like just throw two guys. You can't do that.
No, the Miz I feel like was in 12 of those tag teams. I remember the one with the Big Show.
Yep.
They won those tag titles because what would they just do? They would just combine their entrance songs and be like, "Yeah, I think the Big Show was in 12 of them also because he also was in one with Kane. I remember WrestleMania 22."
Yeah. And with Chris Jericho, remember Jericho?
Oh yeah, Jericho. My God.
Yeah. And the Miz also did it with R Truth.
Yeah.
So, like, they just, R Truth did it with Gold Dust. They were the Golden Truth. Like, they just throw people in. It's like they used to have tag teams that were tag teams. Like, that's what they did.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with just being I mean, the Road Warriors made a career out of it. They like everyone knew them around the world as just a tag team. They never separated. I mean, the Dudley Boys for a little while, Bully Ray got over in TNA, and I like that character. And Devon never got over as the Reverend, got Batista over instead. But I feel like when you think of the Dudley Boys, either or, you think of the Dudley Boys. You don't think of freaking Bully Ray. Even as good as that was, it's still he's a Dudley boy. Even Matt and Jeff to a point. Matt, I appreciate, like at least Matt always tried things, but the Hardy Boys are the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, I was gonna say all those guys. You could even say Edge and Christian. Like Edge clearly was the one who got more over, but
Yeah, Edge
everywhere
is the
he's
only one I
gone,
can think of as like got over as a single star just as much as a tag star.
but every time he's brought up, I feel like so is Christian. The second he went to AEW, he's gonna do something with Christian. The second Christian returns, he's got to do something with it. They're always tied, even if they split up eventually. Same with Jeff and Matt Hardy. They've been in separate companies, but every time they're like, yeah, but are the Hardy Boys gonna I mean, there are rumors now. They're like, we want the Hardy
Yeah.
Boys to come back to WWE.
One final run I saw because like they're in TNA now, so it's like easy for them to like just go, come up here and
Yeah.
just do one more thing. People will love it. You don't got to really do much, but yeah. But then again, with that overshadow of the tag division, the current guys, if like we show them like what a great tag team used to be,
It might. I mean, but maybe it lights, and listen, I think you could piggyback off of what we were saying about the lucha stuff, right? Like Again, I hate to say it because I don't know if people like it, but I just think the LWO has really just become like an anchor, and it's just drowning everyone who is tied to it because it's just not over. It's barely even on TV. It's hardly mentioned. Split those guys up, make a couple tag teams out of them. I mean, they kind of are with Legado del Fantasma, however you say it. That's a tag team that they're working with. You could have a couple of the other luchadors and just build a few tag teams and have it be just like we were saying with the luchador stuff. Have it just be weekly television matches. Like you don't even have to have them fight for the titles up front. Just build tag team wrestling again, where like the Motor City Machine Guns are fighting the Lucha Brothers. It's just a match on SmackDown, but it's going to be an awesome match. People are going to love it. And then guess what? Next week on SmackDown, when you say DIY versus the Lucha Brothers, people are going to tune in because last week's tag match was great. Then they have another one. It was awesome again. And you can just build regular tag matches until you get to the title stuff. But you just need to build that section of the card. Same with the mid card. Like have some of these luchadors just start having matches and then maybe go for the US title. Like there's nothing wrong with just having TV matches for the sake of having a good wrestling match that ends in a win and not a disqualification.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, oh my God, the disqualifications are ridiculous at this point. Sometimes you just guys, it's okay to lose. We're supposed to believe that these guys are two of the best, no matter what, tag team singles. We're supposed to believe that these guys can beat each other. It doesn't have to always keep everyone over by just having them lose sometimes.
And some of the best stories in wrestling history. I mean, if you look way back to ECW, remember Raven and Tommy Dreamer? Tommy Dreamer never beat Raven
No,
until and however many years later, when Raven was finally leaving, they had a match together and they built on that. They were like, we faced each other like 8 times over the past 5 years and you've never beaten me. So, haha, I'm going to beat you again. And then it made the match mean something. So, even if it's long term and you have someone, say on SmackDown once every, I don't know, 6 months, you have like, I don't even know, Johnny Gargano versus Penta, and Penta wins all of those. Once every 6 months, he beats him. In a couple of years, you have him fight for a title, and you have it be Penta saying, "Well, you've never beaten me, Johnny. Sorry, buddy." Or vice versa. Johnny beats him every time, and now Johnny's the U.S. champion. Well, listen, I faced you, 6 times in the last 5 years, and you've never beaten me. Now that's just a small thread that has carried on into something a few years later because you just let somebody win on TV. Like it's not a big deal.
yeah, it's not. And people aren't going to remember every single loss, but it just seems like they always bend over backwards to give it a what do they used to call those dusty finishes, no matter what. Like it has to have one of them. And I don't know, it gets a little frustrating sometimes because you shouldn't have two or three of those on every single wrestling show.
Yeah, and it's funny because they only treat certain people that way. Because I mean, Raw's a perfect example, right? It was Rhea versus Roxanne, I think, right? That
Yep.
ended in dusty finish again because we couldn't have Roxanne beat Rhea because Rhea's super over. But if Roxanne loses, then she's going to lose momentum. But then they also had Stephanie Vaquer versus Ivy Nile, and she just won clean.
Yep.
So
Yep.
why?
You're right. That's a good point. There's certain characters they just won't let it hit, I guess. Like Rhea never loses clean, which I get her character's supposed to be the strongest, but she could take a clean loss every now and again and it's fine. Like, as a professional wrestler, I mean, you can lose.
Yeah, I mean, also think that like in that Stephanie Vaquer Ivy Nile match, Michael Cole was building up Ivy Nile like great, like what a performance. She pushed her to the limit, like really helping to build her character as a legitimate wrestler in a loss. Why could you not just do that with Roxanne? Have Roxanne have a really impressive showing. She's a great wrestler. She's going to have a great match with Rhea. She comes up just short and loses. But then you say, listen, she's like 22.
Yeah.
She pushed Rhea to her limits and lost to someone who's been in the business forever and is a megastar. That's not damaging to you. If anything, it's you lost to the better wrestler, but that's because you're just starting out.
Yeah, then you go back down, you win some feuds, and then you come back and you're like, you've got me the last time, but you're not going to get me this time. I've learned and I've gotten better, and now let's do this again.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they could stand to do that a little bit more. I'm not saying go in the opposite direction completely. Like AEW when they first started, they were like, we're going to keep track of everyone's record, and that just, I mean, that turned into an absolute mess 3 months in.
Yeah, I know they tried to. I mean, I appreciate the effort, But yeah, then when you don't keep up with it, like when you do long term storytelling, the big thing is you can't abandon it too fast too.
Yeah, so I don't think they need to go that far, but I do think, the DQ finishes, it's just like let people, it's and I feel bad, but it's like Sami Zayn, right? How many matches has he hit the blue thunder bomb? And like at this point, he's not winning. Like,
No, it never. I think he won one match. I remember actually earlier this year he won a Raw match with it, and then I was like, "What? He won with the Blue Thunder Bomb? Usually that's just a kick out."
yeah, and that's what you have to do if you're gonna get something over. You need, and it's the same thing we talk about like Saudi shows, right? I barely even watch any of the Saudi shows because nothing ever happens.
Yeah, so
You're
now,
gonna have to have it, like a
yeah,
title change or something.
that's why making the Royal Rumble there will actually make it. It'll force it to be important because the Royal Rumble is important.
Yeah, and you need to do that because otherwise you just start to get to the point like where everything is a blue thunder bomb. It's like every match that happens now where it's, Rhea versus someone or Cody Rhodes versus someone on a Raw or SmackDown, you just sit there and go, well, when's the DQ coming? Because no one's gonna pin someone here.
Yep, and that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, and that's always a killer of a finisher move is if it doesn't. And I mean, we've devalued super kicks so much now. It's crazy that the Sweet Chin Music is still over.
It is, and it's so sad because the Sweet Chin Music to me is one of my all-time favorite. It might be my favorite. Stone Cold Stunner is up there, but I really think the Sweet Chin Music might be my favorite. I used to love doing it when we wrestled on the trampoline and stuff
Well, I
too.
was thinking that we're part of the reason. I feel like our age group are the current wrestlers now, so the way we felt about the super kick is how they all feel about it too. And if we were pro wrestlers, I feel like we'd be part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah, probably because there's nothing like even just last year I was at a 4th of July barbecue and one of my friends was just standing there on the front lawn like playing Can Jam, and I just like walked over and did it. Like did the Sweet Chin Music to him and he like dove and fell down and the whole thing and like it was awesome. It was so much fun just out of nowhere to do it because it is just a fun move to do. But you're right, it's like it's just a set. It's like I guess same thing. Like Jake the Snake did the DDT and it was devastating, but now the DDT is basically just like a headlock takeover.
Yeah, it's literally a setup move towards the beginning. I mean, it's not like locking up, but it's right there with it.
Yeah, it really is. I never thought, but it really is that bad. It's just, and everyone does it. It's crazy.
Oh, the RKO is one of the best ones ever against Evan Bourne. I remember that. That's the one where he did the shooting star plex into a shooting star press right into it, right?
Yeah, dude, and that was Randy's come up with some. You know what's funny too? Actually, that was one of the best, and it was so clean too. Evan Bourne had one of the cleanest shooting stars, also that helped.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was just everything he did was clean. But yeah, he because when he landed, he had so much air that he was able to flatten out fast. But my favorite RKO is actually at WrestleMania 31 against Seth Rollins, where Seth Rollins went for the stomp, and he was up
Hmm.
in the air, and then Randy caught him and came down with the RKO.
Yeah, that was a pretty nasty one too. And it's funny because I saw an interview with Randy where he actually said that later in his career, it was all the people he was facing that came over to him and said, "What if we tried this? Like, what do you think you could hit me with the RKO?" Like, it's not even him that comes up with them anymore. It's his opponents who are like, "I think we could do something really cool here. What do you think?"
Well, it's like taking the stunner. Like everyone takes the stunner differently, or like the pedigree differently. Like that's why I always like when The Rock took it because he'd like flop around and flip over and everything.
Yeah, I will say. So you guys said the best ones. Um, I think the worst person, like, or the person who takes the RKO the worst, might be Kane. Have you ever seen? He always lands on his knee.
I know some guys really. I think it was even like Undertaker took. I think it was some of the Sweet Chin musics he took pretty bad. Some guys can't take certain moves as well. Like or when guys take a pedigree and they land on like one of their knees too. I'm like, ah, you can't flatten out.
That's Kane too, dude. Kane is the king of landing on his knee every time. It's just like it just land on your belly. Come on.
I know he's a little bit nervous about it.
Yeah. No, one of the best RKO's though, freaking Rob Van Dam.
Oh yeah, well Rob Van Dam, the way he flexes his body, he's a great seller. I still hope speaking of great selling like that because of well his name's Nick Namath now, but Dolph Ziggler can come back because I always thought that guy was one of the all-time great sellers for everybody.
Yeah, he really was. He sold everything like he died. I mean, when he took spears, the way he took the monkey flip and he would do like a 450 splash and land on his stomach all the time. Like he sold like a champ. I think that it would be really nice to see him come back too and have a nice little glory run.
Yeah, because you don't got to give him a world title, but people love Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I feel like he was one of the bright spots and maybe not the greatest era of WWE. Like he was given just so many. His runs always got cut at the knees. Like anytime he won a world title, like they take it away from him pretty fast.
Yeah, he definitely did. Hopefully he can come back. I was just thinking too, back on the move thing with the RKO's. You mentioned the Sweet Chin Music. Remember that Shelton Benjamin Sweet Chin Music
That's the
though?
best one. That's the best one. That one they knew was so good because they would use it in the Raw intro forever.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty old. That's another guy, Shelton Benjamin, that I feel like he was wrong place, wrong time. Because if he was around today, I think he would be. I mean, he is around today, but I mean, young Shelton.
I
I
actually
think he
heard
would
an
be great.
interview with him yesterday talking about, he's other than that Sweet Chin Music, I would say that the thing that he's most famous, well, that the Sweet Chin Music and running up the ladder at WrestleMania 21. The first time I saw that was crazy, but the
Yeah,
mama thing with him, and he was talking about how they tried to actually get his real mom to do it, and he didn't want that because he didn't want his mom like around with him on the road. But he
yeah,
said that his mom met the actress who played his mom, and it was like they really got along. He said that was good. But yeah,
that's pretty funny.
yeah, but I always felt like, come on, I feel bad like when you get a gimmick like that. That's a silly Vince McMahon gimmick.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, imagine the Shelton from back then was around today and having matches with the Braun Breakers and with the Pentas and Finn Balor and all those kind of guys. Like, it'd be pretty sick to see those matches. And you don't realize, or I never realized, he's a pretty big dude.
Oh, he's really big. It's just wrestlers in general. It's feel like it's like basketball players, even the small. Like that's why Ray stands out. Believe it or not, me and Rey Mysterio are the same height.
Are you really?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not
Wow.
great, like, but Rey Mysterio is a professional wrestler, and it's like everyone talks about him like you almost think like he's like 4'5" the way they talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it
Oh, this
is
was great. Great.
what
He said that his favorite FU was the Great Khali at One Night Stand in 2007. That was
that
impressive.
I think that might be the most impressive feat of strength, just like because of the length. He's gotten Big Show up, but Big Show kind of is like I know he's 7 feet tall, but he doesn't look as lanky as Kali. It looked like John Cena was lifting like literally a car. It was so long to get Kali up there.
Yeah, Khali looked like Khali always looked so stiff too, and he just looked huge.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one. I think the first, ironically, the first one he ever did against Big Show wasn't that great.
No, the one at WrestleMania 20, the one that they always show.
Yeah, because he like didn't really get him. He kind of like fell with him. But I think he did another one to the Big Show. I don't remember what show it was that where he actually grabbed his head and did it for real, and it looked a lot better. The first one he did the Big Show, I mean, was impressive still because the guy's 500 pounds. So not taking that away from him.
No, don't want to undersell the value of lifting up a 500-pound man.
Yeah, yeah, that's another move though, dude. Like speaking of the FU, when in the beginning of his career, it ended matches, but very quickly it became I need to hit six of them to win a match.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But you know what's surprising? I almost just before I forgot it, but like the spear somehow, despite like four guys having it as their finishing move, is still very over.
Yeah, I mean, because Jay does it, Roman does it, Braun does it, Edge in AEW does it. I mean, Goldberg doesn't wrestle right now, but he did it. Goldberg's was the nastiest.
You think? I think Braun might have passed him now because Braun does like the jumping spear.
Yeah, dude, when he speared IShow Speed at the Rumble, I thought he killed him.
Yeah, I mean the one against Carlito a few weeks ago was brutal too.
Was that when he jumped from the ramp?
Yeah, he came running down the ramp at full speed, then jumped out.
Dude, I thought he hit him in the head. Like he got such hang time, and he's fast, dude. He is so fast when he hits those.
The run around the
He-
ring spear, like he's actually making the spear seem bigger. Like he's adding something like the RKO was just a diamond cutter. People would say, I'd say the diamond cutter's cool, but it's not a jumping cutter.
Yeah, and that jump made all the difference because that jump makes the RKO awesome. And like the cutter, I feel like you could hit it out of nowhere, but like you have to grab him first and full. Like the RKO is just like whoop, here we go, like it's happening. And the spear, like I always laugh because people, it's obviously a divisive move because some people are like, edges. They're like, oh, it's just a glorified hug. He just runs, hugs you, and places you to the mat. And I feel like that's kind of what Jay does. Like he kind of just half shoulders you, like and spears you. But like Braun absolutely tries to cut you in half.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it without hurting somebody, but yeah, like, but the reason why I think him, Goldberg, and Romans look because they're bigger. They like a spear looks better from a bigger guy. It looks a little bit unnatural. Like Edge, he somehow made it work, but like, yeah, Jace never looked completely right to me.
I saw a funny interview too about this where the Rhino was being interviewed, and he was like, no one's ever kicked out of the gore. And the guy was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I always say if they kicked out, I hit him with the spear. So no one's ever kicked out of the gore. They've only kicked out of the spear.
That's funny. I know you got to get out of here in a second, but one last story I have to tell you because I just on the Undertaker, I was listening to him in an interview talking about Razor Ramon was the only guy who didn't want to cross his arms when he took the tombstone.
Oh yeah, he said he was going to make him look like a jabroni, right?
Yeah, he said he's like I was walking around backstage, bitch, and he's like, I just don't want to look like a jabron, man. And he's like, so I had a plan for him because he did it. He stiffed me on the first show. We had 2 shows, and he's like, on the second show, he's like, if he didn't cross his arms, I was gonna put one finger on him and pin him that way. And he's like, but someone must have gotten his ear. He's like, I think it was Mr. Perfect because he's like, as soon as I hit the tombstone, I looked down and his arms are crossed already for me.
That's pretty funny, dude. Scott Hall too, another like I don't even want to say underrated because he's getting so much respect now, but at the time I feel like he was underappreciated. Now everything that comes out about him, he was just such a smart guy. He understood the business. He deserved a lot more than he got. Obviously he had his demons and that
That's
hurt
what
him, but
I think that cut him off at the knees because I feel like Kevin Nash was the guy who just cared most about the money, but I feel like Razor was right there with like Shawn and Triple H, like actually caring about the actual wrestling art of it.
yeah, I think he would still be around. I think he'd be in NXT right now training with Shawn if he was, if he didn't have all his issues. And obviously, he had, unfortunately lost them. But I think if he was around and healthy, I think NXT would have been his spot, and he would have been so helpful. He was one of those minds like Shawn, like Triple H, like Dusty Rhodes. He just understands wrestling, and I think he would have been great for the current people to learn from.
Yeah, I agree. He always was one of those guys. He never got the world title, but he consistently could put on a good match. Like Diesel got over because of his look and size, but I mean, watching some of those Diesel matches back, it's like I can't believe this guy was in the click. But you know what it is with him? He's just a cool he just seems like a cool guy, Kevin Nash, and he's very honest. Like he even brutally honest sometimes. I think people respect that.
Yeah, I agree, and that's all. His character got him over, and look, good for him. I mean, he used it and he milked it for all it was worth.
He sure did, and he'll tell you he did.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna bounce here. So it was fun talking with you, man.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm going to end the stream here too and just let you guys know that me and Dennis will be back on Tuesday and we'll be going over tonight's SmackDown and this Monday's Raw. So if you guys want to keep up with us, make sure you guys watch those shows too. And that's what we'll be talking about. All right. All right. So we'll see you guys on Tuesday. And Dennis, enjoy your work day.
Yeah, thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.